I'll tell you what, so often I find myself making excuses, but I don't think they're excuses. They actually seem real. They seem like this could never happen because maybe I've never seen it, or because I don't have enough money, or I don't have the people to help me, or other people are keeping me from doing it. Just like writing this book. There's a lot of excuses that came into play, but guess what? It actually got written, so those excuses, they were real in my mind, but they were not something that were truly keeping me from writing the book, because obviously I got the book done. So what is it about excuses that keep us in prison? Right now, I'm actually standing in a prison cell. Behind me, there's that toilet. This little tiny, I literally could not move any more than this. And this right here, my friends, is an open door. You see that open door? That open door is your way out. It's my way out. That's the open door of our mind. I want to tell you, because today is a faith coaching, I want to tell you about a story in Acts 16. There's a guy named Paul and his buddy Silas. They were in prison. They were in a prison cell because of something they didn't do, something that was not wrong. They were teaching about Jesus, okay? Wow, all right, big deal, right? I mean, awesome. They were doing what they were called to do, and then they were thrown in prison. But guess what? You would think that since they were in prison, and as we know later on in the story, that they actually had wounds and that they needed to be tended to, that they would have been feeling like they had every excuse in the world to stop continuing toward their purpose, that there's no way they could fulfill their potential that God gave them because they were stuck inside a prison cell. However, if they were stuck inside a prison cell, and what I'm about to tell you actually happened, then I want you to think about your excuses. I want you to think about the things keeping you in prison when really there's an open door right over there. Here's the thing. At midnight, Paul and Silas were singing hymns. They were singing to all the other people, all the other inmates that were there. And they were uplifting them. They were sharing with their voice. They had their voice. And they decided to use it. They used it to their benefit. They decided to win. They weighed the cost. They could be quiet and they could just sit there and be in prison, but they're like, no, that's not what we're called to do. So we're going to choose to win. They looked at who they were. They were ambassadors for Christ. That was their identity. And they navigated their journey in such a way that they sang hymns. That's what they could do. Guess what? Those hymns, the Lord had big plans for them. Because they obeyed, an earthquake came. The shackles were broken off of their arms. The doors flew open and they were able to walk out free. But there was a guard who had been sleeping, probably put to sleep because of the lullabies that they were singing. And this guard he pulled out his sword and he was going to kill himself because he knew that he was letting all the prisoners go. He was going to be in trouble. But Paul and Silas said, no, don't kill yourself. We're all here. We're not running away. Because guess what? Paul and Silas weren't letting excuses of getting recaptured get in their way. They decided they were going to fulfill what they were called to do. They were going to minister to this guard and save his life. So they did. Then they actually went back to this guard's house. His whole entire family and all of his friends came, and they came to know Jesus. They started fulfilling their purpose through a prison guard that had been earlier keeping them captive, or so many people would say, right? But God was bigger than the prison guard. God was bigger than all of the fears that Paul and Silas could have had. He was bigger than their excuses that they could have made, because God had a purpose for them. And they had every resource that they needed to fulfill that purpose. So I want to ask you right now, what is it that is an excuse holding you back? Think about it. God has given you everything you need in order to fulfill the purpose and the plan that He's given for your life. There's nothing holding you back except yourself, your own mind. So these excuses, if Paul and Silas could do it, if these prisoners could fulfill their purpose and God would come and He would do amazing things through them, what more is God going to do through you when you choose not to stay in prison? So as I walk through this door, I walk out into freedom. I want to know, are you going to choose to get out of the excuses and claim your freedom? Or are you going to live your life in there? Your choice. The door is open. It's up to you.